Hello everyone, welcome to Questions and Reason. This is Sessions with the Founder. It's the R, baby. It's the R. Last time we talked a little bit about the land question. I'm not going to continue with that in this video because I feel it deserves its own concept breakdown so that we can understand the issues that will arise should we embrace colonial projects. Colonial projects were designed to divide and conquer us, and we can't be re-implementing them because they will work against us, right? But yeah, so today I want to talk about beauty. I also want to talk about language. Okay, first and foremost, beauty. There's a famous saying that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? But I feel like beauty has lost its meaning. What am I saying? I'm saying that we put utility in front of aesthetics. If you look at the current architecture, most of what we have in the cities, in the townships, is as long as the shelter is useful, right? As long as we have a roof over our head. And not only that, but you go to Soweto, you go to Katlehong, they look just the same. And because of that, we lose the tourism feature that we can have. I mean, you also go to a village, a remote village today, and they're implementing the very same structures that you'll find in places like Soweto. So whether I'm in Gauteng, whether I'm in KZN, whether I'm in Eastern Cape, the only thing that really distinguish is the old architecture, is the architecture that, I mean, if you go to PE, you'll see a different architecture, old architecture that was brought by white people. And you go to Pretoria, it's different as well. But we lost that. We are building buildings that looks similar. So, like I said, whether I'm in PE, whether I'm in Motherwell, whether I'm in Tanzania, whether I'm in Mshongo, Atteridgeville, or whether I'm in Mamelodi, whether I'm in Soweto, I feel the same way. I see the same way. The aesthetic, I wouldn't even say aesthetic. It's just a building that doesn't really talk to the soul. And we lost beauty in that because we like, as long as we have a shelter to sleep on, architecture on its own is missing, right? Because there's a difference between an architectural building and just a normal building. We need to bring back architecture that defines a place. If you go to, let's say, a place in Limpopo, in a village in Limpopo, you should see something different from when you are in the Mpumalanga, for example. I mean, I go to Legazi, I go to Seychelles, they look the same. The only difference is the vibe. It is the culture that is there. And we are even globalizing the culture where there's so much similarity. So if you're an explorer, if you are an anthropologist, the adventure slowly fades away, right? Because the beauty is missing. There is beauty in us being different. So we need to come up with our own structures that complements the landscape that we are on, and that will give it a different beauty. I want to be in Venda and not feel like I'm in the Northwest. The whole setup of the landscape with the buildings should be different. It is good that we are building mansions, going upstairs, having towers, and all these wonderful developments. But I can't be going to a mall that looks the same with everywhere else. This means that, there's nothing different about that place. We need to bring back the aesthetics where we are building buildings according to the landscape that we are on. And we are building architectural buildings that when you look at, it just blows you away. So this beauty that I'm talking about is that the beauty that you see in a little child, right? So when you see an infant, you just want to admire them and play with them without taking anything from them, right? It's not like you want to now steal them or possess them or stuff like that. That beauty that lacks selfishness. So there's no selfishness in that beauty. I love the music video SETE by K.O. Youngster and Blxckie. So it is in a setup where there's a British architectural vibe of the old, and what they're saying is that, the way that I interpret it is that they acknowledge the heritage that we have, right? But they are proud to be African. You can see in the clothing, and you can see in the portrayal of the African woman. An African woman can be beautiful, bold. She can be beautiful with a perm or with an extension or whatever. So her beauty is not defined by her hairstyle, right? Or her nudity. I don't want to talk about Instagram models today, but you can look at an elegant woman who's bold and see beauty. You can see, you can look at an elegant African woman who has hair that was imported, and maybe Peruvian hair or Brazilian hair or whatever, and still see beauty. So her beauty is, that music video to me is saying that the African woman is beautiful, and her beauty is not defined by the hair, the type of hair she's wearing. It can be spirals, it can be braids, it can be all these things. And it sends out a very beautiful message to say, African woman, you are worthy to be loved. Because, a lot of African women, they look at themselves, the melanin, they've been mocked about the way their legs are, the way their body structure is all their life, and then they lose their beauty, and they feel like we have to have a certain image in order for us to be loved, in order for us to be accepted. But that music video is saying that, African woman, you are beautiful, and what? You are worthy of love. You are worthy to be embraced, right? I would like to talk more about the music video because I feel like it's sending so many messages which are wonderful, but we can do that on maybe another segment or something. I don't want to be discussing music videos. The most important thing here is the aesthetics of beauty. The African woman is beautiful, and we also look at what that music video is, the beauty that he's portraying, to say that we now have time to write music and sing about love and sing about relationships and have fun and have a vibe, and these are the things that we didn't have before. And it is very, very beautiful because it is happening in within the heritage of British architecture. So to me, it is saying that we don't deny the past. That is why you see the white man's painting there, but we're no longer fighting anymore. What are we doing? We have time to be creative. We have time to do beautiful things. We can also afford to have leisure and time and explore fashion and explore our own culture and extend our own culture, right? All right, so I also want to talk about language, right? Linguistics. What is a language? A language is simply a system of thought. It is a tool that we use to interpret our thoughts. I know a whole lot of people are fighting to say just because you speak English doesn't mean you're intelligent, right? Intelligent is this and this and this and that. They have their own definitions. It is true that intelligent is not in the language that you speak, right? But in the way that you are able to interpret thought. You can interpret thought in written word, in spoken word. I mean, I'm not that good in interpreting my thoughts. I believe that there's still a whole lot of limits that I can maybe improve on, and so the way that you articulate your thoughts, that is language. And it can be Venda, it can be French. And what we need to understand is that you can express something in English and it wouldn't deliver the very same thing maybe if I express it in Swati or in Zulu. You get what I'm saying? So there's some level of authenticity when something is expressed in a language that is, the culture around that language. It is more real, it is more authentic. So there's no language that we should look down on. I know there are people who are ashamed to speak their languages because people mock them to say, you are too low. Maybe even stop them speaking because they feel like the language doesn't have the right vibe. But should we destroy the dialects or the language? What are we destroying? We are destroying the wealth of the nation, because in every language there is a huge history, there are huge wisdom, there's a whole lot of treasures that we can get and discover. And that is why we even have a subject called linguistics, where people are trying to restructure old languages so that they can understand how maybe the Egyptians thought, or maybe people somewhere in a remote jungle somewhere who created beautiful mansions or beautiful artworks or beautiful, you get what I'm saying? So we need to be able to reconstruct language on the foundation, so that we can understand their thinking. So it is a system of thought. Language doesn't make you better than somebody else. Like I said, I'm not that good in expressing, especially in English, I'm not that good in expressing my thoughts or my feelings or articulating what I have. Really, there's still a whole lot of limits, but it is a work in progress, right? Some people stutter. I have that stuttering when I speak as well. Sometimes I have the thought, but it's blocking me from releasing, right? So, but I have a better ability speaking to machines. Like what I do on a daily basis is software engineering. Basically, it means that you learn the language of the machines, and then you get to communicate with them, instructing them what to do. A simple software is a set of instructions in a certain language that maybe machines can't really understand it, but there's always something called a compiler that can compile it to a native machine language, so that machines can understand the instructions that human beings are trying to give them. So whatever language that you find yourself in, it's good that the English language has progressed so much, because they keep on developing it. Whilst other languages are I would say stuck. I wouldn't say stuck. I would say that they are put on hold in a way, because the languages are no more being developed. And we've seen in 1967, when the youth were fighting the language Afrikaans to say we cannot learn in the language of the oppressor. A lot of people comment that, but in my view, if you know the language of your oppressor, you have a better advantage. It's unfortunate for the Bushmen, though. They lost the click language. Why? Because every time they are found speaking the language, they would get punished, they would get beaten until they forgot the language. And in that language lies the science, the religion, the way of life of people who were able to live in the desert and live with so little and prosper and live in peace. And today we are unable to study them fully, maybe to some extent, yes, but today we are unable to study them fully because they lost a certain type of language, right? And language, you can always adapt it, you can always make it better. Like I said, the English language really has come a long way, and they would take from Latin, they would take from all these other languages to improve themselves, right? And today I can go to Switzerland and speak to somebody and trade and exchange ideas because of the colonial people who traveled all over the world doing what? Spreading the language. And so they standardized a language so that we can be able to talk to each other. I know a musician who was really good, right? But because he couldn't speak the English language, he depended on somebody to get gigs for him abroad. So he would go abroad, and because he couldn't speak the language English, the person that he hired would exploit him. He would make deals on behalf of him, and because he knew that he doesn't understand, then he would take the bigger profits and give him whatever peanuts there was. And when he discovered this, he beat himself that he didn't take time to educate himself. But really, I mean, if you're from a little village in Burkina Faso, how would you be able to learn language if you don't even have exposure to such things as schools and stuff like that? So after beating himself, though, there was a positive thing that happened. He decided to go to learn French and to learn English and to learn Spanish, so that when he's gigging in Belgium, he can speak French and make deals on his own and decide his own prices and stuff like that. And that changed his life forever. So what am I saying with the youth of 67? I'm saying that when you know a language, you always have a better advantage. That is why spies have a concealed language. They want to speak or communicate in a way that not everyone can be able to hear. Because once you understand what they're saying, you gain advantage of the information that they're trying to send out. So we shouldn't look at little kids who are speaking English and be proud. Oh, it is a good thing. Every language is a good thing, but it shouldn't be looked at as intelligent, right? But we do need a language where I can be able to express what is in my head completely without walls, without, barriers. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that for today. This is Sessions with the Founder. Comment, like, subscribe, criticize, and stuff like that. Let's talk about language. Let's talk about beauty. Let's bring back real beauty in the way we look, in where we live. And imagine being in a park and the beauty that is in the park just takes away your worry, just takes away your fears, and you get to admire something that is wonderful without you trying to take it for yourself, right? Or in a garden or in a public space. I mean, if you look at art that Duchamp did, it was, and he called it beauty. I mean, he took literally, I would say, a seat of toilet and he called it art. And art is supposed to help me escape the issues that I'm facing. It should help me feel better about myself. Beauty is supposed to do that, and we shouldn't throw it away because we think it is not useful. It is useful. Have you looked at an ocean? Just looking at an ocean, so many things will happen inside of you that are giving you positive vibes because the ocean is beautiful, right? Anyway, I don't wanna go further on that. Like I said, like, subscribe. It's the R, baby. It's the R.